Okay, and we are back with rewriting Bleach. This
Welcome,
episode, go ahead.
welcome back to part four of the worst idea we ever had.
I don't know about you, but I really enjoy talking about this, and it's the
Oh, I do.
greatest idea that anybody ever had.
I, I'm just being cute. We've been talking for probably 4 hours now in total about fan fiction.
About what is essentially a glorified fan fiction,
A fic.
a fix fic, if you will. But today we have a very special episode, and that is how we're going to take a knife to literally all of Soul Society and kill literally everything that you've ever known and loved.
I mean, that just sounds like a recipe for a good time.
So I want to preface this with there is probably a lot of thought and symbolism and other minutia that goes into the structure and the naming and the iconography about everything that is the Soul Society that just kind of goes over mine and Trevor's head just because like we're not Japanese. So I bet you there's a ton of stuff that we're fucking messing with here. But I would also like to end this preface with I don't care.
Yeah, get your flowery garbage out of here. I want a better story.
So, to that end, let's start with the section labeled Staying as Captains. Now, what does that mean, Trevor?
Uh, basically, all those wonderful characters in Soul Society, all those captains, lieutenants, third seats, fifth seats, all of these 13 characters plus 13 side characters plus however many other, a lot of fucking characters. And a lot of them serve as fluff. And guess what the modus operandi of this series has been? Kill the fluff.
Murder it. Set it on fire.
And that which can be salvaged, we will salvage. But that which is useless to our purposes will just be gone. To that end, we are fundamentally moving around a lot of people in Soul Society. A lot of captains are going to stay captains, but of different squads because there's going to be a lot less court guard squads. We don't need 13, for the love of Christ. The captains that we like but don't feel like they necessarily deserve a captain spot are going to get moved to lieutenants or other seated officers. I think most of them are just becoming lieutenants, and then
Yeah, the vast majority
then
are
the
coming
lieutenant
lieutenants.
then the lieutenants that are decent enough, have enough character going on, and have enough like actual weight in the story will just be moved to third seat positions, and third seats will just be a little bit more important.
Yeah. So let's start off this flesh
Everyone else
fair.
dies.
Everyone else dies. Oh yeah, that's another thing. If we do not mention a character by name, assume that they died a horrible death.
Of never existing.
The crime of existing in the first place, and we sentence them to the void. Um, so we'll start this flesh fair with Byakuya. He gets to stay.
Hooray!
He's a solid
Yeah,
antagonist for the first true arc of Bleach, and he bounces off Ichigo and Rukia very well. So he gets to live. Hooray!
Byakuya stay. Everyone's favorite not Itachi.
Yeah,
Frankly, better Itachi. I like Byakuya a lot more than I like Itachi.
not a Naruto call.
Not a Naruto call. That's later.
Not a Naruto series.
Not a Naruto series.
We'll get to the Naruto rewrite later. As a matter of fact, I think we went on record of saying that we weren't going to do that. So
We're not.
no.
I'd rather die. We'll do like an episode, and we'll just like ramble, and we're not actually gonna do anything with it.
Yep, because we don't care.
Don't care enough.
We don't care enough. So, next on the list, Kyoraku. He gets to move, actually.
Yep, he's the only person I think who gets a promotion.
Yep. And this, as a matter of fact, I'm not even going to mention that. We'll get to that when we get to that. But he's going to get a big promotion.
He's gonna get a big promotion. So obviously he stays. Kyoraku is a solid captain. He's a really likable character. I like the gimmick of his power. I like his character personality. He's got a really good design.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just keep Kyoraku. Kyoraku's really good.
Mm-hmm. Next up at bat, we have Unohana. She gets to stay. Again, really nice character. Really sweet. Totally not murderous.
Totally not an ancient murder hobo of yore.
And she gets to stay on virtue that she is still a pretty decent character, and Isane's got rockin' tits.
Mm-hmm.
So she also gets to stay. But we'll get to her. Next up, Mayuri. We literally cannot get rid of this guy, even if we wanted to. I think he would actually manifest and put a gun to my head.
He would fucking crawl out from under our beds. How dare you?
Mayuri, how'd you get in here? Well, I found this notebook.
No, we're not going into notebook memes. We're not.
Oh, no. So now notebooks are off the table.
Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah.
TLDR, we had a fucking read-through meme about Mayuri's vast collection of notebooks.
That outlines some really terrifying things with implications.
I read this one notebook I got from Mayuri, and I didn't really understand what it was talking about. I just know I didn't like Sasuke.
And after Mayuri, who again we literally can't get rid of, we're contractually obligated to keep him, is Kenpachi. For a lot of the same reason, in that he would literally kill us if we got rid of him.
Yeah.
But we also don't like him as much, so we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to Kenpachi, but we'll start out with him mostly because I really like his fight. That's the only reason we're keeping him.
Yep. And then we have everybody's favorite black guy, Tozen.
Tozen, buddy,
old pal, old friend of mine.
Kaname Tozen, the blind guy.
I keep
some
forgetting.
of you people who've been reading Bleach for a while are probably scratching your brains trying to remember who Tozen is.
I keep forgetting that his name is Kaname.
Yep. Kaname Tozen.
Man, there's
His gimmick was crickets.
His gimmick was he was blind.
I thought you were about to say his gimmick was he was black.
Look, kind of. Anyway.
Oh, no.
And that's the end of the list of people staying as captains. Now you're gonna screech like a howler monkey about where is all of my other favorite captains? Where's Hitsugaya? Where's Soifun? Where's Komamura? Where's Ukitake? Blah, 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 blah. But I don't fucking care.
What about Aizen?
Oh, anyway, those are all the ones that we're gonna keep as captains. So the Gotei 13 is now the Gotei 6.
Better for it, honestly.
And that is what I meant by we're gonna take an axe to this motherfucker.
We cut it by more than half.
It's gonna have to be identified by dental records. So, yeah. That is all the people that are going to be staying as captains. But hold on. What's this, Trevor? In my notes, there's some asterisks next to some names here. Namely, Unohana and Kenpachi. And an implied one next to Tozen, even though I didn't put one there.
Yeah.
What's that all
So
about?
so let's start with Kenpachi because we kind of elucidated on this a little bit. We really like the fight between Ichigo and Kenpachi. Great fight. Solid Bleach work. But Kenpachi, like, isn't a character. He's an obstacle.
He's a living number.
He's a number. He doesn't really do anything besides just show up and wave out his Kenpachi cock and solve whatever situations in front of him because he's so strong. So we're gonna do probably what Kubo should have done, and Ichigo in the fight between Ichigo and Kenpachi, which is more or less the same. Kenpachi just shows up being a murder hobo, and Ichigo just barely ekes out a win, in which Kenpachi just dies.
He either dies right then and there, or he dies later of complications. Take your pick. Pick your poison. I don't care. Dealer's choice. So, yeah, he's going to die. And then the one next to Unohana, what does that mean?
Now we're not doing much with Unohana. I'm not sure if we're keeping her backstory about being the first Kenpachi, which was dumb.
I'm ambivalent to that one. So if you wanna sneak it in, go ahead. But if you want to drop it, I'm also game.
All right. She's just the Captain Squad 4. Now she's not going to die in the first volley like Kenpachi does.
Yeah,
She will probably die during the invasion of Karakura Town that happens during the Mundo saga. Mostly just to be a casualty, and also because she's kind of OP as the healer. She solves a lot of problems, and yeah, just she's decent, but I don't think she's strong enough of a character to like maintain throughout the entire series. And I feel like Kubo probably thought that too. And her having one less captain, bringing Gotei technically 6 to Gotei technically 3, is going to be what kind of prompts the invasion of Vandenreich later.
yeah. So that's that. Then there's the implied one next to Tozen, and that's just more or less going to mean that he's not going to stay as a captain because we've read the story. We know what happens with Tozen.
Yep, Tozen super defects following Aizen,
Super
which
effects,
which leads us into our next discussion.
and that is demoted to lieutenant. Or actually, the name of this section on the notes should have been demoted at all because this contains far more than lieutenants. But most of these are going to be lieutenants. And I think we're gonna go over completely what the full restructure of the squads are gonna look like at the very end. But
Yep,
first up,
I have
we
my
have
notes.
Trevor has his notes. But first up, we have Hitsugaya. He is not going to be a captain anymore. He is going to be a lieutenant under, I think, Byakuya.
Yes.
Because they kind of both have the same temperament and kind of outlook on things. So he's
Plus,
just gonna.
Renji's not there.
Plus, Renji's not there. So we're just gonna move him down, and just gonna serve immediately under Byakuya. Now he can either. We can either change one of the requirements for being a captain, or we can just say that Hitsugaya doesn't get his Bankai immediately. I don't know. We could work things around, but
Yeah, we can workshop that.
yeah. But yeah, just move him. He's now a lieutenant, and Matsumoto's going with him. As a matter of fact, she's further down the list with an asterisk of her own, but the asterisk means something different in this section. But yeah, so Matsumoto's probably going to be the third seat, maybe in fourth seat if we want to go that route. But they're going to keep a lot of the same dynamic. It's just they are now working under Byakuya. And then Soifon.
Now, Soifone is great. I definitely think she's a captain level fighter, even in the rewrite. But her nature as kind of an assassin rather than a frontline fighter leads me to think she would do better as a lieutenant. And funnily enough, in Bleach, the stealth corps actually serves directly under the captain commander. But Soifone becomes the head of Squad 2, and she is the head of the stealth division, so they kind of get merged into one kind of weird entity with a lot of red tape.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just cut all the red tape and simplify this. Soifone maintains her position as the head of the stealth corps and is the lieutenant of Squad 1.
Yep. Just moving her completely, and the the squad she was a captain of before is probably just going to be completely revamped / removed.
The
Uh,
only thing I regret there is that her design is really ballin' with that white coat, but I can live.
yeah, yeah. Next up, Komamura, Doggy-san.
Doggy-san,
Uh,
good boy.
good boy. We're just gonna move him directly under Kimpachi. So when Kimpachi actually does eventually kick the bucket, he immediately just gets promoted to captain. So he's gonna end up where he was anyway, just under a different division. Uh, because they kind of have like the same almost style of just face fuck it until it dies. Komamura just kind of does it with a little bit more grace.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And without being a murder hobo.
And without being a murder hobo on top of it. So yeah, just moving him under Kimpachi for more or less just to take the spot immediately afterwards. And then we have Ukitake, Lung Cancer Supreme.
Lung Cancer Supreme.
And we're just going to move him directly under Unohana in 4th Division. Because
He's really more of a support fighter.
he's more of a support fighter, and he's one of the more laid back captains to begin with. He doesn't feel like a captain at all. So just move him. Move him down.
And then pump Asane down.
Yeah, just bump Asani down to 3rd seat. So everybody's still cohesive, just move down. And then, oh, what's this, Trevor? Next on the list, it says it's Aizen. That's weird.
Aizen.
What's that all about?
So, in the rewrite of that we're going with so far, Aizen is not going to be the infinite number that he was. And I think we'll get into this more later when we're talking about Soul Society arc and Pueco Mundo, when he kind of shines more as a character anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be a lot weaker but more charismatic. So he's not a captain level fighter, but he can kind of get by.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, it makes sense to put him directly under Tozen, and Gin will follow as kind of an equal, but at the 3rd seat.
Yeah.
Because Gin, again, like, he's got a really cool power, but we can probably scale him down, or say he was hiding his power for Aizen the various purposes.
I do love the idea of Sniper Sword, though.
Sniper Sword.
Sniper Sword. But yeah, well, that actually segues into Gin, who has an asterisk. And what that asterisk means is he's not necessarily demoted to lieutenant, but he is demoted even further. He's going to be 3rd seat. And as Trevor said before, because he's going to be more or less equal with Aizen, it's more of an arbitrary, like, who got to lieutenant seat first.
Yeah.
So Aizen is going to stay as lieutenant. Gin's going to be 3rd seat. And that entire squad, when they do defect, is just going to go with it. Because that's all the named people of that squad just fucking leaving.
Like probably the goons of that. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but like, can we just say for our purposes that all of the rank and file of Soul Society, anyone who isn't worth a seat, is just part of the collective army?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the rest of that squad just gets fucking dispersed between the other squads
Yeah. No management
until
left,
they
so
find
like, why
some.
keep them around?
Yeah.
So, and then we have Isane, who we already talked about. She's going to be getting demoted to third seat. And then we have Matsumoto, who is same thing. Again, just a lot of characters that we still like and want to have them around, just they can't be any higher. Which kind of makes sense because all of those characters don't really even fight to begin with, so we don't really know where they stand on any sort of power ranking.
Like
Uh,
Rangiku has a fight, but like Isane, the only time we ever see Isane jump into the fray was when Ichigo shows up at the execution.
yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, he's an intruder. Fuck his shit." And then Omaida, uh, fucking Chojuro, the squad one lieutenant, and Isane they'll activate their Shikai, and then immediately get memed by Ichigo.
Yep.
So we don't even see what her Zanpakuto does.
Yep.
Just immediately just get the curves on.
Get curb, son. Get meme, son. So they're just going to be where they belong, and that is much lower down the totem pole. And then we have Yachiru, who's getting the ultimate demotion.
Yep.
We want to keep her as the shoulder lolly, but she is getting demoted to civilian.
Yep.
She's not even gonna.
She's just there.
She's just there. Kenpachi keeps her around, cause nobody says no because like it's Kenpachi. You gonna tell him no? Fuck you. But that's more or less the extent of our movings.
And then she is promptly written out of the story as soon as he dies.
Shame that. And then we get to the ever so controversial void of characters past.
Oh, we did miss one
Hmm?
of one of the few characters who was unmoved, who wasn't the captain. Nemu. She just keeps her spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Not much to say about that. She just gets to keep her spot directly under Mayuri. Literally just the most untouched aspect of this whole deal. But again, back to the void of characters past. These are the characters that we are just going to be completely dropping, either due to they solve a lot of problems by dropping them, or they didn't really do much or bring anything to the table other than be a quirky character, so we're just removing them.
You're gonna notice that most of these characters are lieutenants or other, who just didn't really add much. And then there's just the one guy whose presence makes things easier. And those of you who may be catching on to that description know exactly who I'm talking about. Let's talk about the captain commander.
Yep. Old man Yamamoto. Yamato, whatever the fuck his name was.
Yamamoto.
Yeah, my Yamamoto. Old man Yamamoto, he is getting completely written out because it felt like Kubo was doing that anyway. So fuck it, we'll just give us the gun. We'll shoot ourselves.
Basically, every single time Yamamoto, because like unlike a lot of characters we're cutting who we're just so ambivalent to, I actually really like the captain commander. We said more or less before when we briefly talked about what we're going to talk about this episode. We both really like the captain commander. He's really cool. He has one of the coolest Zanpakutos in the series, one of the most powerful Zanpakutos in the series. But he's so overpowered that Kubo spends 99% of the story writing him out.
He has created entire characters dedicated to writing out Yamamoto. And that is actually kind of the reason that we cut him to begin with. Because if we take him out, we take out Wonderweiss, who is not a character. He is literally a living plot device and was created as such by Aizen. So if we drop Captain Commander, he goes with it. And then we get to also drop my two favorite Quincy's, Lloyd and Royd Lloyd. The yourself. And getting rid of them is going to make me the happiest boy on the block. God, I hate
Uh,
them.
and since Chojuro Sasakibe's entire point of being a character as of the Blood War arc is to die, uh, we can take him with him.
Mm-hmm. Again, just a lot of characters that were problematic or brought nothing anyway, just solved by getting rid of Captain Commander. So sad to see him go, but he also causes too many problems.
Yep, just get rid of him. He's too OP. Just get rid of him.
Yep. And then pretty much everybody else is just nobody characters. So we got Omaeda right here, who was nothing throughout the entire thing and brought nothing.
And his purpose was to be a joke between him and Soyphone of him being like, Captain, I did my best to try to help you, and then she'd be like, go fucking die in a hole. And we're taking Soyphone's example and letting him die in a hole.
Yep. And then we have Izuru.
Like his entire thing is wrapped up in Geen, and that didn't make sense anyway, because I don't see how Geen was a personable enough captain for Izuru to look up to him.
Yeah. So just
And like
dropping.
he's got a cool Zompok toe and got like a good fight. A good fight.
Yep.
So get rid of him.
And
Not necessary.
then we have Momo, whose entire existence was to be betrayed and stepped upon repeatedly.
Multiple times.
So this is kind of just a mercy kill on our part.
Just get rid of Momo.
So sorry, Momo, you died as you lived, betrayed.
Also, I struggled to remember Momo until we were actually trying to go through the list of lieutenants we can cut.
I remember Momo just because I do remember that arc, that few chapters that involved her heavily after it was coming out about what Aizen did. So yeah, sorry, Momo, love you. Next on the list, Tetsuzaimon.
That's Zaimon Iba, Komamura's lieutenant. The least person of all the Soul Reapers who are named.
Yep.
Unlike Isane, who at least we know the name of her Zompok toe. We don't even know Tetsuzaimon's Zompok toe's name.
Nope.
What it does. Just write him out.
If I remember correctly, he got a lot of airtime during those like little shorts, like those omakes that they did. But
yeah, the omakes. Yeah, like he was funny enough in those, mostly because he had a decent like thing going on with him and Komamura, but not enough that I actually think we can spare him.
Yep, and that's about it. If your entire existence is almost justified by omakes, then maybe don't.
Yep.
And then
Sorry.
we have the next character who you can tell how much we love him by the fact that I literally couldn't think of a single name. I couldn't think of his name at all, and the only thing I could call him was 69 Man. You know who I'm talking about.
I remember his Zompok toe name, but not his.
What a sad existence.
And again, cool Zompok toe. Shame it belongs to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, bye.
Bye. And then
and another one where we just couldn't remember their name. We just wrote down Eyebrow Twink.
Yep. That is all he ever is, and he was involved in a couple of arcs just because he bounces off of Ikaku, who I'm now remembering that we didn't have a place for.
Oh, we do. We just forgot to. We just didn't put him on our list. Ikaku gets. He stays as a third seat like Nemu, and stays with Kenpachi, and later becomes lieutenant under Komamura.
Okay. Yeah, I just remembered that we forgot to actually add him.
Yep. Professionalism.
Yep, professionalism. But yeah, so just get rid of him. Again, his entire purpose was to be foppish and to bounce off Hikaku, and we don't really need that in our fine white society. So, I think that's the end of that. And again, if we didn't mention anybody, assume they died an even worse death than the ones that we just named.
Hmm. The worst possible deaths.
Literally couldn't be asked to remember them.
Yep. This puts our, and I know that listing of people we didn't even bother name includes some lieutenants, but we couldn't even remember their names. So, do they even matter?
Whoopee.
So that leaves our. Okay, this seems like a good point to talk about that promotion. Who's Captain Commander now? Captain Kyoraku.
Yep. We are just promoting him immediately to Captain Commander because A, he was a really great Captain Commander in the one arc that he got to be that. And he is incredibly powerful compared to his compatriots. So he at the very least fits power wise at being Captain Commander, but he's also not so busted that he needs to be written out at every single opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Plus, he's actually just more personable as a leader.
Yeah. So that would put Soifon underneath him specifically.
Which leads to some interesting character dynamics. Oh, that we did we decide that we were murdering Nanao
Right, that's her name.
utterly?
Yeah.
Because she does have a nice dynamic with Kyoraku, and there is a spot open for that third seat.
I would say dealer's choice on this one. Because we can still keep her, but also we
But
wouldn't be missing much.
drastically reduced importance to the story. I'll write her in just for my fiendish bookkeeping ways.
But that's more or less it for Soul Society. Again, we just took a chainsaw to this bitch.
Yep. So our final squad count is at 6. Squad 1 consists of Captain Kyoraku, Lieutenant Soifon, and third seat Nanao. Squad 2 is now Byakuya, Hitsugaya, and Matsumoto. Squad 3 is made up of Unohana, Ukitake, and Isane. Squad 4 is Kenpachi, Komamura, and Ikaku. Squad 5 is Tosin, Aizen, and Gin. And Squad 6 is Mayuri and Nemu, and they don't have a third seat, so let's just make it that guy who was already the third seat. I can't remember his name, but he's there.
Yep.
His function was to be non-offensive, so he's there. But I believe that's all she wrote on the subject.
Yep. So, Gotei 13 is now the Gotei 6. Cut a lot of the fat. A lot of the fat. And what that's going to do is this is going to free up, like, Trevor. Think back as much as you can, all the way to Soul Society and Soul Society Invasion and like think of how many chapters had at least more than 50% of their time dedicated to one of the characters that we dropped, or one of the characters that we are demoting, or something like that. And then it's not going to be a large number. It's not going to be a large number, but just tally all those chapters and then cut them from the final total that we have for Bleach's run, and then come back to me with that number, and that's how many more chapters we get to give to other people who actually deserve it.
I mean, I'm not going to actually do that bookkeeping work, but I do like your metaphor.
That's what I'm not going to say actually do it. Just like imagine in your head, theater of the mind.
Yeah.
Because everything that we cut is going to give more time to people who are actually deserving of that time.
Mm-hmm.
Every more or less useless chapter or every page that is devoted to a character that is being cut, we can just drop, and that goes back into the system.
Yep. Plus the I feel of the essentially like 12 characters who survived the slaughter and are actually going to be mainstay important characters in the rewrite. They're all solid characters who bounce off each other, and they fulfill the purpose that we need them to of maintaining the feel of the Soul Society arc.
Hmm.
Of just this, everyone's running around, chickens with their heads cut off. Faction warfare is at play. Everyone's at their throats. Everyone is suspicious. There's a traitor in our midst, and we're being invaded.
Yeah. So we're gonna have more time to devote to that because we're gonna address this when we actually get to our full on arc by arc rewrites. Because right now we're just doing the prep work for that. We're setting everything into place for when we actually go into it.
Mm.
And with that, uh, Soul Society is going to definitely be a more faction based espionage almost. With the invasion of Soul Society by Karakura Town gang being an inciting incident that just kind of strikes as powder keg.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we'll get to that. But that's who we're keeping. That's who we're going to be demoting, and that's who we're going to be cutting out completely. And that lays the groundwork for what is our next episode?
Our next episode is going to be a lot of the same with a lot less bloodshed for the Hollows of Hueco Mundo.
Yeah,
We're going to be talking about our villains, our first set of villains.
yeah, and then not too many of those going to be put to the sword, but
Nope,
I think there's going to be a
we're,
few.
we're we're definitely cutting the chaff. We're honing in on the Espada particularly,
Yeah,
and in that case, it's mostly going to be a rearranging.
yeah, it's going to be a
And
rearranging.
in that case, everyone we mention, rather than being thrown into the void, though some of them will be, will just be, and everyone we don't main, assume they're just going to be like minor fights.
They're going to be a fight for someone so we can actually start establishing some of these people's power sets in a setting where they can kind of just go all out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be next episode.